what was your attitude towards the people in the moment and then later who revealed themselves so unpleasantly and awkwardly on camera? I mean, I'm thinking particularly maybe of the scene with Robin DiAngelo, where she was enticed or tempted into making a reparation offer in cash on the spot. I mean, that's a pretty damn awkward situation. And I had real mixed feelings when I was watching it. I mean, part of my feeling, I'm not a Robin DiAngelo fan, to put it mildly. I think she's done an unbelievable amount of damage. But the agreeable part of me, which is pretty characterological, nonetheless felt bad for her watching her make a mockery of herself in that manner and having that captured. And so I'm wondering, like, this isn't a criticism, it's a genuine question. I'm wondering what you thought about the moral propriety of doing that. Let me preface that with a brief story. I had to dispense with some people in my lab at one point when I was a professor, and I was having a hard time steeling myself to fire them. And I talked to one of my friends who's kind of a professional at that, about how he dealt with the emotional consequences of having to fire people. And he gave me a pretty good 5-minute spiel about why he actually enjoyed it. And his attitude was that he was sent into corporations to find people who kissed up and kicked down and who took all the credit and did none of the work and did nothing but cause trouble and backbite and bicker and gossip and pretend to be working and sabotage. And he'd find out who they were and tell them and send them on their way. You know, and that was a very different attitude than the one I would have taken, because I tend to be, you know, overly sympathetic to people, arguably. And so, but I felt that same tension, you know, watching your movies. And so I'm wondering, you explained that to some degree because you're playing a part and there's a movie being made. And so there's a sense of fiction about it. But personally, like, what, I mean, you obviously didn't do Robin DiAngelo any good on the reputational side. And I'd say that was the case with many of the people that put themselves in your films. So what do you make of that, Matt?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's definitely a fair question. I don't think we certainly didn't do Robin DiAngelo any favors. I like to think that we played a hand in totally destroying her career and reputation. I'd be happy if we did. And maybe that kind of answers your question. I go into this, so it's kind of two things in my mind that help me through it. One is I'm playing a character. This is a movie, I'm playing a character, which is actually why, I'll get to the second part of it, but the hardest part for me making these movies is the part before the cameras turn on, because in real time, I'm obviously in the room with these people before the cameras turn on, sometimes after the cameras are off, because that's just the way it goes into making it. And I have to be in the character the whole time, obviously. So the hardest part for me is actually the part you don't see. It's where the camera's not even on yet, and yet I have to kind of stay in this performance, but it's not being watched. And that makes the performance harder. For example, one of the more difficult things that I've done in either movie was when we went to in What Is a Woman, we went to the Maasai tribe in Kenya. And the whole idea was just to present, anyone who's seen the movie or seen that scene, you know, that the idea is we're presenting these insane left-wing, very Western, modern, liberal ideas to someone far outside of that bubble to see how they react to it. And the scene only works if they think that I really am confused about this. We're asking these basic questions about what is a woman, you know, can a woman have a penis? Like these kinds of things. We get great reactions out of them because they really think that I'm confused. And so what that meant is that, and we spent all day with them and we only filmed a little bit of it. So I had to pretend the whole time that I was this totally clueless, insane person. And at no point did I ever turn to them and say, hey, by the way, this is just for cameras. Because if I do that, then it's not authentic. We don't get their authentic reaction. It's the same thing in Air, in Am I Racist? Very similar. The most difficult scene there was we went to a biker bar at one point with a bunch of you know, white Southern bikers at this biker bar. and we get a couple of great interactions that you see on camera. But I was at this biker bar for a while, maybe a couple of hours, and we had a lot of conversations that we didn't film. And I had to, and I'm wearing this dumb wig and everything. And at no point can I turn to these guys and say, hey, by the way, this is all for show. So they thought that I was this total tool the entire time, and I had to kind of stay in that character. So that was the hard part. Is one. So I'm kind of, when I get there, I'm just like begging for the cameras to turn on. I just want to get the thing. I want this to be real. It's a performance. Let's do this. I don't want to have to keep dragging this out in this little mini film that we're making that no one's ever going to watch. Now, the other part of that is, so that's part of how I sort of deal with it. The other part is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a film, but we're also trying to expose something. We're trying to expose people who are responsible.
Frauds.
Right, frauds.
Yeah, definitely. Deep, self-aggrandizing, naive,
Right.
moralizing, hyper-agreeable, deluded, reputation-savaging, cancel culture frauds. Right.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly what we're trying to expose. So there's a kind of righteous indignation that I feel the entire time. I know that, okay, you're going to get what's coming to you. You deserve this. You need to be exposed. This is the only way it will happen, because if I sit down with you and I say, hey, come on my podcast and let's talk about it, first of all, you won't come. And even if you do, you won't be honest about what you really believe. So you force me. The only way for me to show the world what you really believe and what you're profiting off of is to do it this way. And so you brought it on yourself. And that's the way that I look at it, which is one of the things, we talk about stylistically, something like Borat is an inspiration, or even Nathan Fielder. And I think that Borat's a brilliant film. Nathan Fielder's a brilliant, it's just an artist. But with both of those guys and the different things that they've done, films and movies, they are often embarrassing and exposing just normal people. And they're making normal people look like absolute fools. And so we knew going in with both of these films and any films in the future that we don't want to do that. And so if we're doing a scene with normal people, then I have to be the butt of the joke. And so when we're with the Maasai tribe, or when we're with the bikers, they're not going to be the butt of the joke. We're not going to put anything on camera that makes them, they're like some random guy, some random just plumber who lives in Tennessee. He's got to live with this embarrassment for the rest of his life. I'm not going to do that. And so the comedy in those scenes was always that I'm the fool. And they come off quite well, because in the comedy is them being normal and me being the fool. We only wanted to make a fool out of somebody if they were a fraud who needed to be exposed. And so that's how we try to approach it.